if you just, take a step back and look at the sheer scale of human achievement, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It really is.
We have harnessed nuclear energy, built these global communication networks, and now we're deploying artificial intelligence that can literally rewrite its own code. We have, godlike technological power.
We do.
But then you look at the news, any daily news feed, and you see the conflict, the intense polarization, the short-sighted environmental policies, and you just have to ask, if we're so smart, why is the world such a fragmented, anxious mess?
That paradox you've just laid out, that deep, messy dissonance, that is the central problem of our time.
Right.
And it was articulated with, I think, devastating clarity by the great sociobiologist E.O. Wilson. He diagnosed our condition this way. He said, the real problem of humanity is the following. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology.
Wow. That quote just, it hits you. It's the ultimate concise explanation for why we seem so, ill-equipped to handle our own creations.
Exactly. It frames everything.
From your latest fight on social media, all the way up to global nuclear policy, it's a collision of three completely mismatched speeds.
A temporal dissonance. That's a great way to put it. Our species is trying to navigate this exponential technological future while operating on a Stone Age biological clock. And we're using these centuries-old institutional mechanisms that just, they can't keep up.
And the result is what you're calling the wisdom gap.
The wisdom gap.
Yeah, and that's our mission in this deep dive. We're going to break down every single part of that revolutionary triad. We'll show you how your ancient wiring dictates your modern behavior, how our systems fail to measure what really matters, and why this gap is leading us toward a pretty serious existential threat.
Okay, so let's try and unpack this first component. Paleolithic emotions. What does it actually mean to have the emotional baggage of a hunter-gatherer in a world of, smartphones and Teslas? You can't really blame your road rage on life on the savannah, can you? Actually, you almost can. The deep, dark secret of human history is that the foundation of resource distribution, who gets what, it isn't rational economics, it's our evolved sociality. Our survival for, 99% of human history, it relied entirely on intense tribalism.
In-group loyalty.
Intense in-group loyalty. We had to cooperate fiercely within our small band just to survive the outside world.
So that quickness we have to form teams, to pick sides, and then almost immediately view the other group with suspicion, that's actually hardwired into us.
It's absolutely primal. We evolved to be hypersocial, highly cooperative, but, and this is the key, only within the confines of our group.
So it's very specific.
Very specific. There are experiments that show humans will form in-group preferences even when they're told the groups are completely meaningless.
Wow.
This Paleolithic baggage means we're quick to anger at any perceived unfairness from an outgroup, and we have this evolved mechanism that, frankly, facilitates the dehumanization of enemies in the name of the tribe.
And that's why violence between groups has been sort of the default state for so long.
It's been the default competitive state, yes.
And this ancient tension creates these two constant clashing systems for how we distribute everything. You have this internal fight going on.
Yes, exactly. The source material outlines these two competing ethoses that are always at war. The first is, let's call it the Red Claw ethos.
Red Claw.
To each according to his ability to take. It's pure, ruthless, selfish competition. Survival of the fittest.
And that governs how we act between tribes or nations.
Yeah.
Like global trade wars or, military conflict.
Precisely. But if that Red Claw ethos dominated inside your own tribe, the group would just collapse, right?
Of course. You'd tear each other apart. You need internal cooperation to survive.
Exactly. And that need for internal stability is what drives the second ethos, which leans much closer to the communist ethos.
To each according to his needs.
To each according to his needs. Inside a stable group, competition has to be suppressed. Sharing is prioritized. And it's amplified by cultural tools like kinship and shared beliefs.
Okay, so this is where Wilson's idea gets really radical.
This is it. He argues that this constant eternal conflict between self-sacrifice, which we call virtue, driven by group selection, and egoism, which we call sin, driven by individual selection, that conflict is the evolutionary engine that literally made us who we are.
So you're saying that the entire drama of the human condition, art, law, literature, even our political arguments, It all just comes down to this dual selection process playing out over and over.
That is the core insight. We are permanently suspended between these two forces. We are not unified rational actors. We are conflicted emotional animals. And that conflict created the entire basis for the humanities.
That gives us a perfect bridge. If those are our ancient instincts, our wiring, how have our modern systems failed so badly to, update? If our emotions are Paleolithic, what makes our institutions medieval?
Well, I think the best place to start is probably economics, right?
Yeah.
Because it's arguably the most pervasive institutional framework in modern life.
For sure.
And the reason economic models so often fail to predict what really happens with resource distribution is that mainstream economics is trained to ignore human sociality.
To ignore our Paleolithic nature.
They're trained to ignore it. Their foundational theory is based on Homo economicus.
They treat people like robots.
Exactly. And the economist who coined the term, Thorstein Veblen, he actually meant it as a joke. Yeah. He called this theoretical person an asocial globule of desire.
A globule of desire. I love that.
He said it spins symmetrically about his own spiritual axis until some outside force hits him. It's a completely bizarre, simplified assumption, this solitary, hyper-rational calculator that's baked into so many of our institutional theories.
It does sound pretty lonely. But what's really surprising, what I got from the sources, is that markets themselves, which we think of as these purely rational economic engines, were actually a cultural tool developed to manage our Paleolithic conflicts.
They were. That's a fantastic point. Markets were designed specifically to suppress that Red Claw ethos within a community.
Stop the infighting.
To stop the infighting, exactly. To allow cooperation to flourish. They set rules, they set prices, and they provide a way to exchange goods without having to steal or go to war over them. They're a social tool for internal peace.
Okay, so if markets are about peace, what drives distribution in the big modern institutions, like global corporations or government bureaucracies? If it's not the Red Claw ethos, and it's certainly not to each according to his needs, what is it?
It's the third pillar of distribution in modern hierarchies. The power ethos.
The power ethos.
To each according to their social influence. In these large-scale, complex societies, resources get distributed based on your position, not just what you produce.
But wait, hold on. Isn't that just meritocracy with a different name? I mean, if someone's high up in a firm, they're generally pretty skilled and competent. How do we know it's power driving the reward and not just what some economists call hidden skill?
That is the right question to ask, because hierarchies are the quintessential medieval tool for concentrating power, regardless of what they produce.
Right.
And the source material provides a technical metric for power that aligns very, very strongly with income. It defines an individual's hierarchical power as the number of subordinates plus one.
Subordinates plus one. Okay, why the plus one?
The plus one represents the position itself. It acknowledges the simple fact that you hold that job title, and that title confers power separate from the people below you. It measures both direct and indirect reports.
So what's the evidence against the hidden skill idea?
The crucial evidence is the timing of income growth.
The timing. Okay, this is the aha moment.
This is it. Skill, your competence, your experience, that grows gradually, right? Linearly. So if your income were purely based on skill, your salary would climb smoothly year after year.
But that's not what happens.
Not at all. Hierarchical power grows in lumps when you get a promotion. And studies show that when someone gets promoted, they often get an immediate, significant jump in income that aligns perfectly with that sudden jump in power.
The increase in subordinates plus one.
Exactly. It doesn't align with the gradual growth of competence. This suggests that the position and the social influence it confers are the primary drivers of your financial returns in these medieval institutions. The power ethos wins.
So we have these Paleolithic, emotionally volatile human beings running institutions based on medieval power structures.
Yes.
Now let's add the exponential factor, godlike technology. What happens when Stone Age emotions run systems armed with technology that accelerates faster than the speed of sound?
We arrive squarely at the existential crisis, defined by the wisdom gap. It's a quantitative disconnect.
Okay.
Technical intelligence, the part that creates the godlike tech, is exponential. It focuses on how to optimally achieve a goal, rapidly ticking boxes, perfecting efficiency.
But wisdom, which is all about which goals are worth pursuing in the first place, the ethics, the long-term thinking, that moves linearly.
At best. Or, as history often shows, it doesn't move at all. It stagnates.
And that gap between exponential intelligence and stagnant wisdom creates an asymmetric ticking time bomb.
A huge one. The complexity and speed of technology give a massive advantage to negative actors.
A single hacker, a rogue state,
or even a small terrorist cell. You don't need the resources of a nation-state to inflict catastrophic damage anymore.
Just look at cybersecurity for, an immediate, terrifying danger.
Absolutely.
The United States is so vulnerable precisely because we have the widest, most complex attack surface imaginable. We plug software, the ultimate acceleration technology, into everything.
Our water supply, our banking, our power grid.
Our power grid, we saw this with the Colonial pipeline attack, which shut down critical infrastructure with just a small software bug.
And the problem is compounded by the fact that cyber conflict is this decentralized Hobbesian war of all against all. Anyone can hide. Attribution is nearly impossible.
And we've seen reports of major state actors probing our nuclear plants, right? Not just to steal secrets, but looking for bugs in the actual operational system.
They are looking for the kill switch, yes.
And what makes this all so morally chilling is the existence of this high-value underground market for bugs.
The market for bugs is a perfect and terrifying manifestation of the wisdom gap. These are zero-day software vulnerabilities, flaws in code that the vendor doesn't even know about yet.
And they're sold for huge sums of money.
To actors who operate completely outside of any moral constraints, this effectively democratizes the ability to create devastating cyber weapons.
So a single person can, for profit, sell the ability to shut down a pipeline, or worse.
Or someone's pacemaker. The technology moves so fast that the prevailing culture is still move fast and break things. In this context, that means regulation is not optional. It is absolutely necessary because our Paleolithic morality simply cannot keep pace.
Okay, so if this Wilsonian triad Paleolithic medieval godlike is actively threatening our existence, where do we even find a path forward? Where does the necessary revolution begin?
The path forward begins with a conscious philosophical realignment. It's what Wilson called concilience, the linkage of the sciences and the humanities.
Concilience.
We need to eliminate what he called the learned ignoramus.
That's a fascinating phrase. What is a learned ignoramus?
It's a term from the Spanish philosopher Ortega y Gasset. He used it to describe the specialist who adopts the attitude of a primitive man outside their own very narrow field.
So they know one thing deeply.
But they lack the peripheral vision, the context, the ethical grounding of the broader human story.
And that's perfectly captured in that disturbing anecdote from the source material about the engineering students.
Yes. When they were asked to design an optimal pipeline to transport human blood from Nicaragua to the U.S. for sale.
Which is already a horrifying premise.
A horrifying premise. They focused entirely on the technical challenges. The optimal pipe diameter, efficient pumps, a chemical additive to stop coagulation.
They were brilliant engineers.
Technically brilliant, but they never once questioned the ethical nature of the task itself. That failure to apply wisdom outside their expertise is the learned ignoramus in action. Knowledge is power, and it comes with unavoidable responsibility.
So the goal is to integrate all these isolated silos of expertise under one single, unified concept. What is that concept?
It's human security. This is the overarching framework we need that integrates all global challenges: climate, health, human rights, personal safety.
So it shifts the focus away from just protecting the state or measuring GDP.
And it centers it firmly on the protection and well-being of the individual human.
But the ultimate solution, it has to tackle the biological imperative itself, right? And that's E.O. Wilson's boldest proposal, the Have Earth Initiative.
It's a radical biological imperative, but it's based on stark mathematics. The current extinction rate is accelerating. It is already up by a multiple of nearly 1,000 times the pre-human rate.
1,000 times.
And the data shows that the only way to stabilize the vast majority of species and secure the planet's ecosystems, which, let's remember, are what keep us alive, is to commit half of the planet's surface, both land and sea, exclusively to nature.
Which requires an absolute transformation of our medieval economic order, which is just obsessed with perpetual growth.
It does. It requires transforming our economic valuation away from assuming infinite resources and toward valuing natural capital, the oceans, the rainforests, as the most essential component of our wealth.
Is there any good news here?
There is one countertrend offering a glimmer of hope. Demographic research consistently shows that in countries where women gain social and financial independence, their average fertility rates drop autonomously through personal choice. Humanity might be quietly winning one crucial throw of the demographic dice simply by respecting human rights.
So we've traveled from our hardwired Paleolithic instincts for intense tribalism. we've exposed the medieval power structures, where your income is determined less by skill and more by the number of subordinates plus one. And we've landed on the asymmetric risks of godlike exponential technology. The ultimate challenge is a coordination problem of an unprecedented scale, demanding we finally unify our expertise.
Wilson suggested that we are beings with ancient hearts and divine hands, and we are standing at a crisis point, and we are rapidly heading toward the ultimate ethical test.
Which is?
The era of synthetic biology, where we will eventually be able to routinely build complex organisms from scratch, and this will reach the point of potentially altering the human genome itself.
That is the ultimate test of the Paleolithic medieval godlike triad.
It is. So the ultimate provocative thought is this. We are acquiring the power to engineer life itself. Do we really want to use this godlike technology to create a new human race that is more rational, more predictable, engineered to be free of these messy, imperfect, sloppy, Paleolithic emotions that cause so much conflict? Or are those very emotions the source of our conflict, but also the wellspring of our empathy, our art, and our love? Are those what ultimately distinguish us from the superintelligent machines we are building? The torch is now passed to the generation that must decide if humanity is worth mastering.